Hey.
What's going on, people? I'm sorry, I listened to our intro music. I was jamming. What's going on? Welcome
I
back to
can never hear
another
it.
episode of No Clue. It is Wednesday, August 4th, 2021. Y'all, it's been a long week. Panel, how y'all doing today? How's y'all week going?
Ah, blessed and highly flavored.
Can anybody hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
You can
I
hear
can't hear
you.
y'all.
Oh Lord.
Oh,
Nobody said
oh.
Can y'all?
anything.
Well, no,
Well, can you say
I
something?
You
said
didn't give us
something.
time to say
I
anything.
did.
Wait, can you
What?
hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
My week has been great. It's hot, but great.
Oh my.
And I'm just trying to get to Friday.
Y'all can hear me,
Amen.
right?
Yes.
Yes.
I cannot hear y'all.
Oh
Okay,
no.
I think
Oh.
I'm going crazy. I'm gonna cry. Hold on, let me try something.
Mm. Oh no.
So in the interim, welcome back, world. We love y'all.
I cannot hear y'all.
It's time
Like
to
I
be
feel
with
like
us.
I'm the stepchild. Daddy, I'm gonna cry. I just heard y'all. Like I don't understand what's going on.
Uh-oh.
So do you hear anything now?
Wait, are y'all playing with me?
No.
No.
We hear you just fine. Doing like it's your birthday. No. We hear you just fine.
It's delayed.
Okay, so I don't know what's going on, but I cannot hear y'all. But I just turned on to the live feed so I can hear y'all. So we're gonna keep moving on. How about those apples?
Sounds
Oh,
good.
Okay, we're gonna roll with the punches.
Oh,
but we can hear your echo
we
though.
can hear your echo.
How about those apples? Okay, we're gonna roll with the punches. Let me see something real quick.
But we can hear your echo though.
We can hear your echo.
How about this? I'm gonna go away and I'm gonna come back.
Yeah.
So let's do this. I'll be back in about 2.5 days. All right, I'll be back
Well, good thing Jesus rose on the third.
after I figure out how to do this.
All right. So in the interim, welcome back, world. How y'all doing?
We doing all right. Blessed and highly flavored. You know what I'm saying?
Amen. And we can all hear each other,
Amen.
so we doing good.
Is
Yes. Yes.
we gotta have that one person a week that have something going on
It
Always
somewhere.
having
happens.
technical difficulties every time.
Yo, I'm just hoping it. Well, no, I took my turn, but it's probably my turn again because the way things been going. So it's probably
Oh
my turn
no.
again real soon.
No, don't say that. We can't have all that going on.
I'm hoping not, but I'm looking at the
Mm-mm.
trend. At first it was that, and then it was you, and then it was
Mhm.
Arteria, and now it's Doc. So that means by default, that means the next person will be me.
Oh no.
Can y'all hear me now?
We heard you
Yes.
before.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
we
can hear
always
y'all. I
heard
can hear
you.
y'all. You know what? I don't know what it is, but
It's all
DJ,
right.
you up next. You got next, bro, because it done hit Mo, it hit
That's what we
Terry.
just was talking about. We
Don't
We
just
were
play.
just
talking
talking about
about
that.
that.
You're up
Literally.
next. I'm sorry. This is Final Destination. You're up next. Okay, moving on.
No, sir.
DJ, what is our stay wet topic? We're 4 minutes in. We got one more minute to keep talking junk. How was everybody's week? Shoot, I was about to cuss,
We've
but we
already
have
said
a
everybody's doing great.
wow. So I missed out on everything. You know what? You know what? Screw you guys. I'm going
But that's
home.
okay. You can
You
do
already at home, so
that.
how does
I
that
was
work?
about to say you already at home.
But even outside of that, you could do like everybody else could do. They could follow us on social media. They can view it when it's posted. Keep us trumping. Keep us following. We thank y'all for y'all love and y'all support. Now we can
Thank
get
you.
into it. Amen.
Say what?
There we go. All right.
Come
So
on, say
for
what?
today, say what? I want to take time to do something a little different. So August 2nd would have been James Baldwin's 97th birthday. And in
Mm-hmm.
honor of somebody who was both a writer, a poet, a playwright, an activist, and a staple in the LGBTQ plus community, I want to know what are some of y'all favorites from that era, or just across the board. And if you do pick James Baldwin because we want to give him honor, what about him or his work resonates with you?
I'll go first because James Baldwin was one of my favorites. We in my school we actually read Native Son, which is now that's definitely not unheard of with these kids, unfortunately. But just him being himself. If you look at his interviews in the past, he's just brutally honest. When it's dealing with the dynamics of intersectionality before it was even that term even being coined. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I just, I'm sorry. That I got the feels for a second, but happy belated. Yeah, we weren't available to talk about that last week, like But anyway, y'all go ahead. My bad.
No doubt.
One of
Thank you.
my favorite thing from him is If Beale Street Could Talk.
Come on.
That was my movie.
Mm-hmm.
Love that movie. The sisters in that movie gave me life.
What about you, Doc?
It's the same. We watched that. We watched that movie in school. I was throwing a temper tantrum because I don't like it when my stuff don't act right. So I was gonna throw a temper tantrum and boycott this entire segment and just be quiet and stand in the corner. But
Lord.
But I'm gonna be an adult and say, but no, if Beale Street Could Talk, that movie was amazing. Because you guys know I admire females and I admire the hardships of the female life because of my grandmother. And so for me, that movie was one of those. And then it was a love story. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It was a heterosexual love story. However, I saw myself in it. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
And for me, my favorite Baldwin books are always Go Tell It on the Mountain, which is a classic, but also just above my head, because at that time he gave a portrayal of a black queer man and was very detailed in their encounters with men during a time when it was still taboo. Plus, again, with him being outspoken and him being outright, and even in his interviews, like he was in your face about what was unjust. He was in your face about political activism. He was in your face about sexuality. Just like Mo said, he really was doing the work of intersectionality before we even had a term for what it was. And just being, the amazing person he was. My favorite quote by him was, "If you fall in love with a boy, you fall in love with a boy." And I thought that was like super profound because, he was in an era where he wasn't afraid to say he liked men, he liked women, but that was where he was. And anybody that dies in Paris is my hero. I don't know about y'all, but if you can live your life and do those things and be great and still have a support base, a fan base, and then you end the rest of your days in prayers, that's a win. And even now in 2021, we still having conversations about him. Shout out to the documentary I Am Not Your Negro. If you haven't seen it, check it out. It's amazing. It gives you a very accurate, detailed account of his life, his work, and some of the things that he did. So that's all I got for today for Say What. So thank y'all for participating.
Say what?
Shout out to Megan Thee Stallion. She's winning.
Well, just remember, just a side note, not everything that is face can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it's face.
That's good.
That's a great Baldwin quote.
See? Where you at, DJ? Right there. There you go. So, I appreciate that, DJ, because most of our Say What's have been like recent news or current news. You took it up. Our systems and processes. That's why you went that route. Understood.
That's right.
Thank you for saying true.
No, I went that route. I went that route because I love James Baldwin. I love his work, and I felt like we have a platform and an opportunity to bring exposure to him and his work to many people who may not have heard of him or just heard of him in past. And so, as a fan of his work, I would have been doing him a disservice if I didn't mention that.
I applaud you, sir. I applaud you. And I'm actually just trying to waste a minute so we can get to 7:40. That's what I was trying to do. So we can stay on the time. I was trying to stay on the timeline, but this is the longest. There we go. Finally, it went over to 7:46, 47.
You know what?
Oh, Jesus, I tell you the truth. But we appreciate you guys tuning in to our Say What. So we have a quick video break, and after this video, we'll be right back with our main topic. We're talking about toxic masculinity, and I want to hear you guys' thoughts, get you guys' opinions. And we have a special guest panelist. He's someone who I admire and who's someone who I give so much respect to. So you'll meet him right after this television break. We'll be right back, all right? All right, guys, welcome back. So real quick, shout out to Ricky Z Media. That is the production company this podcast uses. So if you're looking to start a podcast, do not hesitate to reach out to her. She is phenomenal, guys. You can find her. Email us at the no clue the show at gmail.com and get connected to her, or Ricky Z Media at gmail.com and get connected to her. All right, let's get to this main topic, toxic masculinity. But before we get started, let's bring on our guest panelist, none other than Mr. Damian Parks Weekly. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on this great afternoon for you, evening for us on the East Coast. Do us a favor, tell our listeners who you are, a little bit about yourself.
First of all, let me just say that introduction put a little pressure on me. But thank y'all for it. I really appreciate the warm welcome. Damian Parks Weekly is actually Southern born in Birmingham, Alabama, transplanted to the Midwest to St. Louis, found love via Facebook. Shout out to social media relationships. Found my husband on Facebook, and he's from St. Louis. I moved here. I was looking to get out of the South and out of Alabama. So here I am. We've got our church here in St. Louis, the sanctuary of which he is the pastor of, and I am the church administrator and an elder. Also a part of Black Pride St. Louis. Here, I'm the treasurer and executive board member for that. And what else do I got? I'm also a part of, I've worn 3 different hats in Kappa Psi Kappa Fraternity Incorporated. So,
yeah.
So yeah, that's
all right, Angel.
Well, we thank you so much for coming on, sir, for this topic. Guys, Mr. Parks Weekly and I did a Bible study together that turned into a whole different thing. And so I was like, I got to have you on another show. I got to have you do something because you bring such dynamics to whatever you bring to it. So we're talking about toxic masculinity, guys. So I'm going to start this topic off by just asking a simple question. What is masculinity? And I don't want Merriam-Webster, Wikipedia, Google. I want your definition of masculinity. Okay, everybody don't answer at once. Okay, DJ, give us your definition of masculinity.
I'm going to wait this time because I'm technical. So I'm going to let the other people go, and then I'll come in and I'll feed in. So we're not about to do this tonight.
Okay, one of my ladies or Mo, give me one of my ladies. Like Arteria is 2 people. Arteria or Mo, give us your definition of masculinity.
Go ahead, Mo.
Wow, just throw me under the bus. Thanks. I really appreciate that.
I'm loving this bus tonight.
I mean, okay. I mean, it's to me, it's just all a part of a social construct. There are certain duties that has been assigned due to society, but that's varied over time. I'm sorry, DJ, this is a technical term.
I know, and that's why I was
going that pain.
It's
but
okay.
I mean, like what? I mean, what else can we call it? I mean, because I don't subscribe to the notion of, oh, well, if you do these things, you're automatically masculine. Because I know plenty of women that know how to take a car apart and put it back together, but love to put on a pair of heels at the end of the day. So, I mean, it just...
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you're right. It is that construct, and it is about that whole thing of what is perceived to be of a male or masculine experience, as opposed to the contrast of what it appears to be of a feminine or a femininity experience. Like, there is no set, like, is or isn't. I mean, we have these ideas and these conditions, these social constructs that are imposed upon us from the time that we're younger to say that this is what this means to fit into this box. But I mean, I agree with you, Mo. It is hard to have that conversation without addressing the construct.
Right.
So, okay. Mr. Parks Weekly, Miss Arteria.
I am still, and I don't think I ever will be able to get to a definition of that. Masculinity is way across the board. Femininity is way across the board, and it always has been. But we allow society to do what it does, which is judge and orientate in the wrong direction. I have a very good friend who lives in Texas, who is the current reigning Texas bearded queen. So explain that one, right? So it
Okay.
is non-gender conforming, whatnot. But when you take masculinity and femininity, because I always say, like, girl, the lashes and eyes, oh my God, but then this beard is cut to no end. So how do you,
Yes.
so I feel like we have to. I wouldn't go to Webster or Google because they're going to give you what's traditional, and we have to redefine it. We're actually in the midst of redefining it, and honestly, I don't even want an explanation. I want to say, this is my orientation. This is how I act, how I am. It's across the board. So I don't think we'll ever get another full-on answer of what masculinity is or femininity.
Okay. Terry, you have anything?
See, that's why I couldn't answer. Because I don't have a definition for it, because society do put us in this box. So I don't have a definition.
Yeah, we've been here to blow up the box. So I'm, hey.
We are here to blow up the box. You are absolutely correct.
So my definition of masculinity is a mindset, because that's what it is to me. So you can be. I have a friend. She's a very independent woman. When I say I've been on the phone with her, but what you doing? Changing the brakes on my car. I said, sweetie, you're doing what?
She's gonna beat you. She listens to this show. She's gonna beat you one of these days. You keep on getting on her.
I do, because I'm like, as a man, do I know how to change the brakes on my car? I do. However, space, I'm gonna drop it off up there at Goodyear and let them change the brakes on my car. Do I know how to change a tire? I do. However, space, I'm gonna call 1-800-AAA and say, hey, come change my tire.
I like my nails.
Right. Right. So with that being said, so now because we all are thinking outside of the box, we have to go back into the box for a moment, okay? So based on what society has told us masculinity is, what we're teaching young men coming up, now we have to talk about what is toxic masculinity.
But see, I want to clarify though, because we're not teaching that, and there's an entire generation of individuals that is not teaching that either. So we have to be careful when we have those conversations, and that's why even when I phrased, like what my definition of it is, that's why I say it's what's imposed upon us, because it doesn't necessarily direct the blame or redirect the blame onto anybody, because these are things that happen. But again, like, we have a whole generation of individuals now that's like, no, this isn't me. This isn't who I am. This isn't who you are. And so I want us to be very clear, because, language can either heal or it can hurt. And I want us to just be very cognizant of that.
So let's talk about the traditional definition. Does that work better for you?
Absolutely.
Okay, got you. Again, our systems and processes. Thank you, sir. I would now check I would check my verbiage with our system and processes department, which DJ is the VP of at this moment. Okay, so traditional society has taught us what about men and masculinity, and what about that has been toxic. So what has, I know, Arteria, you wasn't raised a man. Mo, you wasn't raised a man. I get it. But Arteria, you're raising a young man. Well, well, if you would like, we can pull some high school photos.
I dressed masculine back in high school as well, so don't do it.
We can go back to middle school and elementary school. Let me ask my best friend. Anyway, moving on.
Ultimately, ultimately, that's a whole nother show.
What are some wow? But what are some things that young men are being told that are toxic? Traditionally, let me correct
myself. The very first thing in that sense is about not being emotional or not having the ability to express yourself, and how expressing yourself is some manifestation of a feminine characteristic. But then that's why you got people, or that's why we see some individuals now who are in relationships and they are so detached from their partners, and they wonder why they can't express themselves, because you've conditioned this person from the time that they were old enough to understand what it means. Why are you crying? You shouldn't be crying. Boys don't cry. Men don't cry. And now you're looking for him to have this overly open expression of emotionality, and he can't, because you've made him stagnant from the time that he could even conceive what he was feeling or even understand that it was the emotion that he was feeling.
So from a psychological standpoint, you have gone into one of the three topics. And I knew if I said that, somebody would choose debate. And I was like, watch, DJ's going to say it. Anti-femininity is what we're talking about here. where anything that is considered to be feminine is not for men. One of the main topics of that is emotions. Men are told not to cry, that men don't cry, that you suck it up and you tough it out. Men are told you don't show that you're happy, or you're not supposed to show that you're sad. All right, so let's talk about anti-femininity. Mr. Parks Weekly, you're not just gonna sit there and look cute, sir. Chime in.
Listen, I just don't believe in stepping on toes while people are talking. I'm from the South. I have manners. So, but anti-femininity, so I agree. So I can tell you, I grew up with, when I was younger, I had a lot of feminine characteristics. And as I got older, I've actually thought recently, like, did I become a little bit more masculine because I was encouraged to do so, or did I just naturally happen that way? To be honest with you, I don't know. I believe it's a combination of both. But I realized that sometimes when I have on a pair of hard bottom shoes and I'm walking across the hardwood floor and there's a little bit of switch in my walk, I don't apologize for that. So we have to make these things okay. At the same time, I enjoy going outside, digging in the ground, playing around in the dirt, in my garden, and not just be garden, but I'm like uprooting trees and all that kind of stuff. I ain't changing the brakes on my car, but I know how to change a tire. But I'm like you, I'm gonna call. I just don't want to get dirty and sweaty.
Right.
But at the same time, one of the other things too is that I can tell you a short story. When I was growing up, I had a deacon in the church tell me that you know how it goes. If you get you a little P word, then that'll help straighten out your walk, and you'll put some bass in your voice and grow some hair on your chest. I'm like, well, the bass came, the hair came on my chest.
Oh no, ma'am.
Yeah, but see, when I was a kid, I mean, I would play with my cousins' Barbies and put Barbie in a Tonka truck and run that heifer down the hill. I was good. I have always blended two sides. Like I've always been that person. So, but you also have to think of terms of society, especially Black society. And one of the things that we do to men is we telling them ever since they were little boys, and when they first grow up and you get your first girlfriend, that yes, and I agree, yes, you need to open the door for her, and you should, hold her hand, and the chivalry, but we have mixed chivalry and masculinity to take two totally different things, and that's what messed us up. But you do all of these things for women. When you get older, you should be the provider. You got to take care of the kids. You got to take care of the house and all of that. And we gave the perception that somehow or another the man was just supposed to absolutely do it all. That may have worked back in 1930, 1940, 1950, but in 2021, everybody in the household needs to contribute just about. You damn near need to send kids to work because it's expensive, but the cost of living alone has changed. So the pressure that we put on the man, and especially in the Black man, we wonder why we have so many baby daddies. We wonder why we have so many deadbeat husbands, or they go out and they're not successful at the thing that you told them that they had to grow up to be. Well, and what do? They get ghosts because all of the pressure to be the man of the house, to be this version of the man, is unrealistic. Toxic masculinity comes across that hugely because men just can't live up to it. And how much you can't be so hard that you want to try to blow a bubble through a noun later. Come on, nobody's that damn hard. This machismo mentality that came with back in the 80s when rap came along and gangster rap is unrealistic. Do we hear what's being said? Yes, there are gangsters that are still out there, but the perpetrators and the pseudo gang members that live in our neighborhoods, I'm like, come on now, dude. You got a poodle at your mama house as a pet. You're not a gangster rapper. So come on, poodle. Pseudo rap, but gangster rap has done. It's been some great music, but it has also set us up. It changed our entire game. And hyper masculinity on top of toxic masculinity is just really like, oh man. And guess what? Now we got to depend on the gays to pull us back this way. Y'all know we do everything, right? Okay. So the gays to be like, nah, child, come back this way. Come on. That's But yeah. So I keep going on.
But then it also makes me wonder, where do we get this concept from? Where we know it's a very westernized concept of like the man is supposed to provide, because that's not our African heritage. If you look at it through a historical lens, it's the African woman that was the hunter and the gatherer, and the man tended to what's going on home. So it's just like, for us to adopt even something that is very much outside of our whole genetic fiber and well-being of our foundations, It's absolutely crazy.
So, okay. So first of all,
Go back. The
That's
bubble
what
to
I'm
the
about to
later.
right. So I was
I knew
about
you were
to
gonna
say.
say that.
I was about to say, DJ, what we can't negate is the fact that this man just said blow a bubble through a annihilator. Because you got me over here seriously thinking, is that possible? But I know it's going to be difficult. But I agree with you. We have been conditioned since birth, almost, that when a child comes out as a child, you're crying. Stop crying before I give you something to cry about. You just knocked me upside my head. I mean, what more can you give me to cry about? You know. I was raised in a home where if it was not contact football, it was gay. I love running track, gay. I love being in the band, gay. Anything, I love acting in theater, gay. You see what I'm saying? If it was not contact, because that's what he was taught by his dad, who was taught by his dad, who was taught by his dad. And I think it comes down to it goes back to slavery, because in the plantations, the master was the one who was beating and showing dominance and control. So we felt that we have to act like that to be masculine. That's what I personally believe it comes from, that we watched that image, and that image was literally beaten to us that that's what a man looks like. And this is why I agree with you, DJ, is that we can't sustain relationships because we don't know how to be vulnerable, because we were told men aren't vulnerable.
And then you think of how much in well, let me say in the gay community. And the first thing was two things that they want to know: is he top or bottom, and is he masculine?
Is it your business?
And I'm like, baby, y'all gonna be single till the end of time.
Like
trying to put somebody on a scale of masculinity. I'm like,
we do it in the LGBT, in the gay community, because we're just talking about us men. Right. We do that to ourselves. If you look on somebody's profile, no fem. Tell me what defines masculine and feminine, because I tell people all the time, I don't consider myself masculine by definition because I'm not a thug. My pants are around my waist. I'm highly educated and I carry myself appropriately. I don't have a long track record with arrests and drugs. No, that's not me. Does that not make me masculine? Because I do enjoy getting a manicure and a pedicure. And I like for the ladies to put the wax on my hands and on my feet. Does that make me feminine because that's what a woman's supposed to do? No, in my opinion, what makes you masculine is the thoughts in your head. All right. And so this goes into us talking about therapy. Men don't do therapy. That's for women. If my therapist would just understand that we're married, we have a wife and two lovely children who play baseball, I would be in a better position right now. Because I enjoy therapy because it teaches me how to tap into my emotions so that I can know how to love, because I love myself. I don't think as men we're taught how to love ourselves because we're told provide, provide, provide. You work to provide and you provide the work. That's all you do in life. And then you die. We have to learn to love ourselves and learn what we like. And it's okay, in my personal opinion. My grandma used to wash my hair. If you want to see me go straight, yes. Let my grandmama put my head in her lap and start rubbing my baby. You be like, oh, thank you. And my dad was like, that's gay. You making him soft. No, baby, you giving me Jesus. I love to cook. My grandmama took me in that kitchen. You're making him soft. You're making me independent. Mm-hmm. So that's anti-femininity. I'm sorry, because I can go deeper in that. So the second one is, you talked about it, hyper-masculinity. You gotta
before we go on to the next one.
Okay.
I want to speak from a female standpoint of it. Being that I'm married, been married almost 8 years now with my husband, 10 years. Hey, honey, he's watching anyway. We just had this conversation about the emotional aspect, because of when we came up with the topic, I asked him what was toxic masculinity. And so, because I didn't quite understand, I wasn't raised around a bunch of men. So everything how I was brought up, it was all feminine anyways. And so the conversation that me and my husband had was, I found out with him, one, I took time to learn my partner, and that's what we fall short at. We do not take time to learn our partners. So we automatically assume that, oh, they're supposed to be the masculine side and they're supposed to take out the trash. No. However, with him, I've realized and I learned him that he has, just say, what we talked about was the gift giving. So with him, if I was to do gifts or things like that, he has really no emotion behind it. So if I had not have known that about him, I would have took it as if he didn't like it. But that's just who he is. He loves the gifts. That's just who he is. So people, if I didn't know him, if somebody else was, just say one of you guys gave him a gift and you saw the reaction that he gave, you would take that as a nonchalant reaction. But that's not, he's just not an overactive type of person. That's just not who he is. So we had this conversation I think we had it yesterday. We was talking about this. And so I think in our community, especially when you're in a serious relationship, you have to take the time to learn your partner before you put them in a box of masculinity or they're too soft and all. Learn who they are. So
I think part of what you said behind that too was something I thought about a second ago was and Robert was talking about with therapy. So not only do therapists help you to tap into emotion if you're an emotionless person, but they also help you to control your emotions. Like I don't believe in, I won't say I don't believe in it, but I'm not a proprietor of being overly, I will say just like, just all over the place, that kind of emotion. And I think that's the thing that people fear a lot too. Like they don't want that from men, is that somehow or another. And I believe that we can have control of it. But if that's who you are at the core and it helps you to get that out, run up and down the street if you need to. We've just always been taught that, very subdued, very quiet. My grandfather was a gentleman. When I tell you, we would spend Thanksgiving at the house for like 6 hours and you might get 2 words out of him. But that was because he was supposed to sit in this wingback chair with his slippers on and be the man of the house. When he sat down, no one said anything. He said grace. They put a plate in front of him and you didn't hear from him anymore. And so but that was the way he grew up. And I'm kind of like, no, can we talk? Like, can we get 2 words out of you? And he was a loving man. Awesome. But he never said, we didn't grow up with getting I love yous and things like that. Like how much social media gives men that's just whole thing when you see them talking with their kids and then walking them to school and kissing them on the forehead. And God forbid if it's a little boy being kissed on the forehead by his dad, then somehow or another that's problematic and is showing not enough masculinity. And we have to change that. We have to change the image of what that looks like. And one more little thing, and I'm glad Mo got back on because I want her to hear this, but I'm telling you, don't be offended when I say this. I also believe that toxic masculinity has fallen over into the lesbian community or masculine presenting community because some of us in that area over masculinize, and yes, I made up a word.
That's my job.
Overdo masculinity in an effort to try to prove some. Now I'm not saying that's Mo, but I have brothers and sisters that do overdo it because, and I know it's overdone because when we're out in front of everybody, it's a production. When it's just us behind the closed doors, you're relaxed, you're just yourself, and I say you as in you general, not you Mo. But in general, I get that a lot.
It's all right, Angel.
Yeah, I get that, but I get that a lot, and I'm stupid enough to ask a question like, so why do you do that? And it's almost like a code switch. In that when in order to be received and taken seriously, and I get it because then society tells masculine presenting females, well, you should be more feminine. No, you should just shut the hell up and let her do her life. But she also should realize that she doesn't have to over enunciate the same verse on femininity. We don't have to overdo femininity. Just be feminine, and because we feel like there has to be extremes instead of gray areas about that. That's a lot of things that I personally run into, and I just want us to relax and not conform one way or the other, but do what comes actually naturally for us.
I think what you're talking about more so is hyper masculinity, and it's basically they're trying to emulate what they view as masculine, dealing with the culture because and it just doesn't just happen with lesbians, masculine identifying lesbians. There's straight men that
straight
also
men,
do.
absolutely.
They do the same exact thing. You know, they get very boisterous and extra.
And give
Like,
you
oh, you're
that
not
gym
gonna.
walk looking like an orangutan.
Right. Knowing it dang on well they're not gonna bust a grape in a food fight.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
I think it's just, what?
Just a
What?
quick request. Can we stop talking about food? We blowing bubbles through now and later. We busting grapes in a food fight.
Well,
Jesus
apparently I
Christ.
must be tapping into the spirit because I've been in and out this whole broadcast.
Right. But so what I agree with you guys on is hypermasculinity comes from, but that's what we're portraying. That if you're a man, you walk like this, and you Popeye the Sailor Man Brutus from Popeye. You walk like you're constipated, got to stick up your butt, and you got to hold it tight. No, baby, it's not that serious. Like, to me, again, masculinity is a mindset.
It is.
I think everybody on this call is masculine. I think everybody on this call is feminine. I think it's because that's who we are. I think because if you get to the scientific portion of it, women are XX, feminine. Men, we're X freaking Y, so we have femininity in us. What was the word you created? And sir, I'm the only one who can create words on this podcast.
I don't even remember how to say it anymore.
But okay, so my next topic that I want to bring up was and this segues right into it. Toughness. It's the notion that men have to be physically strong, emotionally callous, and behaviorally aggressive.
So
I think that's more the testosterone, though.
Yeah.
Guys.
Well, what you're not going to do is talk about my testosterone because you're testing me. But we're taught that, like, for example, when two men greet, if I greet Arteria, I just shake her hand. Well, I don't shake women's hand, but you shake hands. But when men greet, we got to squeeze and see who's the most muscular, who can put the more oomph in the handshake. For why?
Bumping chests and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was in football.
Like orangutans.
Slapping each other on the buttocks. Yeah.
Hold up. Whoa.
I'm married. Don't do that.
I thoroughly enjoyed that in football. Good job.
I enjoyed watching it. But
Sure. Anyway, we're going back to my childhood. That was enjoyment time. But why do we have to be so tough? Like, tell me what's wrong with a young man saying, "Hey, I want to be a figure skater. I want to be a ballet dancer."
Or cheerleader.
Men are called yell leaders, but okay, cheerleader. What's wrong with that?
Fun fact: a lot of football players take ballet classes, and also Herschel, they help their hand-eye coordination and flexibility. Even Herschel Walker had did a ballet several years ago back in his heyday. So, I mean.
But that's nerdy people, Mo. Nerdy people would know that football. People who actually look into football would know that they take ballet. The average American Joe who sits at home and watch Sunday night and Monday Night Football,
they don't know that.
Would not know that.
The ones that are fanatics and know stats and all that, they know that type of information. But I will say this. Notice that the people that always have something to say, whether it's masculinity or femininity or physical athletic prowess, is the main folks that don't have any of it. So really, it's just projecting.
So let's talk about that. Let's dive more into that. Arteria, you have a beautiful young baby boy. I can't wait to see him a little later. We might have him as a guest on the show soon. But how would you feel if your son came to you and said, "Mom, I want to be a gymnastics. I want to be a gymnast." And I made the baby a whole sport.
When I got pregnant, I have always said whatever my son wanted to do, I'm going to support 110%. I would never box my child up because I think that's what we fell short at when we were growing up. We were placed in this box by our parents that we need to do this and do this. And so now that I have my own children, because I have 2 daughters as well, and my son, I will, if my daughters want to say, "Mommy, I want to go play football." Okay, what number you want? And let me know the game times. And I'm there. Same thing with my son. If he want to go out and say, "Mom, I want to go take ballet." Okay. I'm not going to place a box around my kids. That would never happen.
That's a good mommy.
and so to me, that's what makes a great parent, because you're willing to support your child. Now your baby may get out there and do plie and a grand plie and realize, you know what, this ain't for me. They doing too many legs and twists and turns. So you know what, Mama, I changed my mind. I want to go play tennis. And I tell people, do your research, because you have men in these industries who have made millions of dollars. Mr. Alvin Ailey, I mean, that man is probably a pile of dust at this moment, but he's still making money.
Is.
And so I feel like
Legacy.
where does this come from? And it goes back to what you said about gangster rap. We're allowing the music industry to raise our children.
Yep.
And a lot of that, if you look into it, is lies. These people ain't did half the stuff they claim they done did. Who was the rapper that they found? He said he shot up somebody. He got shot so many times and robbed this and found. Boy, you ain't did nothing. You was raised in a upper class society. You never lived in the hood.
Was it Tekashi 69?
That's just like the baby, the statement the baby just made. I mean, he acts a little girly to me.
First of all,
Allegedly.
Since you brought him up, he does have a nice butt, because it always is out.
See, I was gonna wait to bring him up next week because I had a whole read about him.
His butt is always out, and the most recent picture with his legs up in there, you're showing me everything that I want to see, sir. But you're not. Tell me what's masculine about me walking around my booty hanging out. At least your underwear are clean and white. I give you those props. And it's got a nice curve to it. Like, it's perfect for moving on.
Come back this way.
Right. But I will say this. What I love is that, you have these young babies that are coming up like Little Nas X, where it's basically taking those stereotypes, turning them on their ear, and watching the mainstream audience get pissed off at him for basically showing that mirror of what it's really alike, especially with that last video with Industry Baby. I mean, all the way down to him pulling his pockets out of his pants and having those other guys hold on to it. Yeah, I was like, so you just gonna tell all the business is happening in prison, huh? And explain it all the way, aren't we?
So, shameless plug. On the 5th Sunday of this month, I will be preaching at Greater Empowerment Ministries, and we'll be talking about Lil Nas X, because I like what the man is doing. Everything y'all have said about us, he's putting it back in your face and saying, but if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it right. I'm going to be the king. I'm going to be the queen of it. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to own it. And
make millions while doing it.
Absolutely. Because he lets you know, he's quick to let you know I'm still making money out for Old Town Road. I ain't even got some others yet. Which are number 1 and number 8 on the chart relative, but
I love it. It's like watching Miss Seeley when she said, "I want to see what color gonna be on the wall next."
Baby,
I love it.
Meanwhile, you got people like the baby that made those homophobic / misogynistic comments on Rolling Loud Festival. Now he's been dropped from not 1, not 4, not 6, but 7 festivals that are coming up in the next 3 months,
including that clothing brand that
and he will no longer be a part of Music Midtown. So Atlanta even jumped on board
7.
And let him go.
That's number 7, which I really want to go now because Megan Thee Stallion's on it. But anyway, point of it is, it goes to show you when you have Azalea Banks, Chris Brown, Madonna, and Elton John all on the same page saying, "Whoa, buddy, you might want to calm down there."
Yeah, Madonna went completely off. Like she had a whole something to say.
As well as Elton John. Both of them gave excellent reads on Twitter.
Yes.
But I appreciate Madonna because she did bring up the component about the misogyny in his lyrics and the statements that he also made, because that wasn't as a big of a controversial statement as opposed to when he made the comments about having relations in the what is it? I don't want to say the actual term because this is supposed to be a semi-family show, I guess. But but if you, so I can say it. Well, in
the famous words of Lil Nas X, I didn't sign up to be nobody's role model. I came to share my gift with the world.
Oh yeah, when he said, "Oh, if you're not dick sucking in the car outside, put your lighters up."
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but if you got that pussy tastes like water, put your cell phone lighters up. I'm like, dude, come on. You know what? You go. I can't even say go to your room. Oh my.
He froze on purpose.
Because I'm gonna be honest with you.
The
Let's
Lord
just be
froze
honest
you
with
on
this.
purpose.
We all have a past.
Come on, Pastor.
We
Come
all
on.
have a past. We all have done things in our past, have we not? Has any of us who in here waited till they got married to have sex? Okay, nobody. Let's just be real about this. So everything you said, sir, you've probably done yourself. In the famous words of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, put the mirror up. Please don't have several seats. But that leads me into my next point. Power.
Wait a minute. Mo got a comment.
Mo, you got a question.
Mo got a question.
Oh, what do I do for a living?
Billy Berserker said, semi-family show ellipsis. What do you do for a living, Mo?
First of all, I love that you put ellipsis. I love it. I love it, DJ. I love it.
Yes.
I deal with transport. Let's just say that.
Yes.
And we do not mean human transport either. Okay,
we're definitely against human trafficking here.
Right.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, I didn't recognize. Hey, Keith and Dr. Rajon Bettis, thank you guys for tuning in. But let's get on with power. So you know what? Since
but before we go there, y'all brought up a couple of things that made me think about some things in another way, right? And the first thing is, we talked about we started this whole conversation putting masculinity and femininity on polar opposites of the spectrum, right? But that's not the case. They include along the spectrum. It's a very fluid, seamless, interconnected
like
process, right?
Thank you, DJ, for getting to my final thoughts.
But I wouldn't even say it's like a bell curve. Like, I mean, I think, with a lot of things, we have to stop looking at them like they polar opposites, and this end is the end all be all of masculinity, and this end is the end all be all of femininity. There's an entire space in between both of those points, which means that there's an entire, venue or volume or set of spaces that can coincide within that. So that was the first thing. The second thing is that, when Doc brought up the point about toughness, and why is that so important, or why is it such a overly characterized trait of masculinity? The point of that, or the point behind that, ultimately lies in the fact that when most people do that, that's a mask. Masks are facades to hide emotionality or to hide who you really are. Because at the end of the day, another important component of that we didn't talk about is we're not allowed to be vulnerable. As a male, you're not expected to be vulnerable. You're not expected to live in your truth and really be like, you know what, that was something that really hurt me, and this is how I deal with it. But I can hide that by being overly aggressive. I can hide that by being overly tough. I can hide that by being standoffish. But when I'm approached with that and have to be vulnerable and turn that mirror on myself, then I really have to take the time to identify and look at me through a different lens. And then that really makes me understand, shout out to my therapist, because on another spectrum, what my therapist has done with me is not necessarily taught me how to navigate my emotions so much as identify them, because I knew what I was feeling, but I didn't know that was an emotion, or I didn't necessarily know how to respond to what I was feeling. And so it was identifying that and being okay and saying, yes, I'm upset about this. Yes, that hurt me. Yes, that makes me sad. And even identifying, which one of the things that we talk about all the time, yes, that's something that makes me happy, and being okay with understanding that this thing is a thing that makes me happy. So ultimately, I'm saying all of that to say, in this whole grand scheme of these things, vulnerability and toughness kind of coincide, right? Because of that whole facade about how we can't truly be our authentic selves.
So, for the record, DJ just did my final thoughts on masculinity and femininity. That was my final thought. That they run hand in hand, because I told you it's a mindset. Thank you, Department of Systems and Processes. So now I don't have a final thought. So when we get to final thoughts, and I just say, "Oh, it is his fault." Okay.
You can talk about the duality. You can talk about the duality.
Remember the temper tantrum I threw at the beginning of the show? I'm gonna throw it again in final thoughts. But this gets to the last thing I want to talk about on this evening, which was power. As men, we're supposed to. It says something that we must work toward obtaining power and status, both socially and financially, so that we can gain the respect of others. That other people validate us by our financial and social standings. I think this is where the statement "keeping up with the Joneses" come from, because my neighbor got a new Bentley, I gotta go get a new Bentley, or I gotta get a Maserati because I gotta do one of. You seen the memes? My daddy has a BMW. Well, my daddy has a Mercedes. My daddy works at McDonald's. My daddy works at Chick-fil-A. We get into this power struggle that we have, and it starts when we're little. I'm gonna ask a question, and I ask you guys to be transparent. Were any of you bullies in school?
I guess I kind of was.
Okay, good. I feel better
Of
about
course you
life
was.
because I was a bully. Okay, I was, and it wasn't that I was a bully. It was just that I thought I was better than everybody, and so because I thought I was better than you, you need to do what I say do, and don't ask me any questions.
How were we
I can
friends?
see
How did
that.
it happen?
But
I
see, I
wasn't
don't
at
think
first.
it wasn't. But for
What did
me,
you
it
say?
wasn't even that. It was just like I was that kid that I was already, kind of socially awkward, kind of shy, still trying to figure myself out, doing these things. But I also was a kid that was in the forefront of everything. I did all these things. Everybody knew who I was. I played, volleyball. I ran track. I swam. I played tennis. I was in concert choir. I was always in the forefront of something. And so it was also like, to your point, like that access, that little level of privilege, that same of
Yeah.
power that put me in a position to be able to do that. But never did I go out of my way to you know,
Oh, I did.
degrade somebody or do something of that nature. I may have said some things, and even thinking back on some things now, I probably said a lot of things that probably hurt some people, but never because it was like that was my intention to do so.
I could see that, DJ. I could see you saying things to hurt people to their core.
I mean, I have the capacity to do it. Don't get me wrong. Like if
Jesus.
I want you to hurt, I'm gonna say exactly what it is that
But
I know is gonna trigger for you to hurt. But I'm learning to work past that and learning to work through that as I learn to be more in touch with myself and my emotions, because then it makes me be like, well, damn, how would I feel if somebody said that to me? And sometimes it's
mhm.
like, I suck it up and it's gonna be what, and sometimes it'll be like, damn, that might be the one thing that might break me.
Mm.
And so as men, but sometimes in the power struggle, we're taught to break down the other person. If we can get biblical with this, that's what they did in the Bible days. When my tribe came and took over your tribe, we demasculated you because we need you to know we're bigger than you, we're badder than you, we're better than you. That's what we do in this industry. I mean, not in this industry, in society, and in our culture, we're infamous for doing it because we look down on those who aren't where we are, or who have what we have, or who haven't come up to where we've come up to. And that's something I really wish. And I'm only speaking from the male community because unfortunately I haven't been in the female community yet. But I just feel
Yeah.
like as men we look down upon each other, and we constantly are telling. What did I say?
You
You
said you
said,
were
Said
yeah.
yet.
in the
You
male
said yet.
community yet. I just wanted
Okay.
to make sure I followed that thought before
I'm sorry. I'm a
Oh,
man. I love being a man. I'm gonna stay a man.
I
Yeah.
mean, look, whatever you decide,
I
I
know
support
you're in
you.
a safe space. I mean,
You are. You know
In
you
the
are
famous
loved.
words of Miss Celie, until you do right by me,
I
I'm
was
gonna
being
make you a
serious, so
Millie's pie.
whatever.
But no, I appreciate y'all. But thank you. See, I appreciate that support. I think as men, we need to do that. I think as men, if I
Thank you,
decide,
bro.
I remember when I was in school, we would set the lunchroom table, and somebody was like, "I think I'm gay. I like women." We was like, "Oh, congratulations, you found yourself." I was at a different school. I wasn't at an African American school, but I think that's
you were
what we
in a
need,
safe space. I talk
right?
about safe
And
spaces all the time. So
and I think
yeah.
we need to. Every place needs to be a safe space, especially in the African American community. Because anytime history has changed, it was because of us. Billy, know
He was
this.
really supportive. I love it.
yes.
It's a
Billy,
safe space.
Shout out to
Billy,
Right.
Billy.
Shout
Billy.
out to Billy.
Right.
I
We heart
appreciate your support,
you.
Billy. We've
Yes.
missed you, but no, I'm happy with who I am.
Oh, that's
Y'all, you know
fine.
what? I'm not talking. You know what? Screw
I
But
you
can't help.
guys. I'm going home.
but
No,
to
but
your
Anyway.
point though, but that's the irony in what we're talking about, because power in any type of power differential or power dynamics determines that it has to be a differential. So
right.
by contrast and by the very nature of that, it can't be a safe space. there has to be some level of dominance and some level of submission or subordination. That's the very definition of a power dynamic.
But why can't we
However,
meet?
even within those dynamics, there should still be a safe space when you're doing it right. But
No, I mean, and I agree with you wholeheartedly, but by a traditional definition of power dynamics,
Whoa.
there has to be some position of subordination,
Yeah.
right? Because
it does.
otherwise it negates the whole concept of that
But then,
dynamic.
but the
It
submissive people in this situation, the submissive people have to feel safe. They like
Right.
I can be a submissive person, but if
Right.
if I'm having to be done in a toxic manner, then I'm not safe. You know.
exactly.
And
And
so
Correct.
also, but
I'm
also
sorry.
adding to that, I think the component that I think we're also missing is particularly when we're talking about the African American communities or Black communities, historical communities. There's an aspect of still not healing from the brutality of
Yes.
slavery.
Yes.
I think the term is what post-traumatic slave
Like this order.
dysphoria.
Yep.
Uh-huh. So that's deeply, in my opinion, and I believe that others have, have written books about it as well, stating that that hyper masculinity where they're puffing their chest out is a symptom of that with
Mhm.
dealing with that.
Well, if you think about it,
Um,
how they went out, how the slave master reigned over the men. Then when the men get back to
Absolutely.
the cabin,
Hmm.
the women and children did their best to try to create a safe space in
Mhm.
putting him in like, well, he's king of the castle, he's head of the household,
Mhm.
let's rub his feet, let's get him this, let's feed him, all of that kind of stuff. And we did that, but I think now in now terms we have now overcorrected what we were trying to fix back then. We bought an
Mhm.
overcorrectionness. I don't know if that's a word, but you know what I mean, into
Mhm.
2021 in those terms. And now people are feeling like, okay, you trying to give granddaddy too much. And I'm like, no, I mean, I granted he deserves it. I think he's done well, but it doesn't mean that, but granddaddy should also be a safe space. So should be able to come to you and verbally have a conversation. You should be able to tell me, don't just tell me what you did right. Tell me what you did wrong. Share with me
Mhm.
the real tea behind what was happening versus trying to look pious and masculine. Give me the real deal. And those are the parts that we're not getting.
And I
Mhm.
agree with you because that's what I said in the beginning that this for me it goes back to the slave mentality. And that's what our
Mhm.
women were doing, and the children they was trying to masculate the male based on what we saw the masculation of the slave masters were. Um,
Mhm.
I'm sorry, I didn't get Billy's comment because I love
Oh,
Billy.
okay. So Billy was basically talking about with the gaming systems, how there's a moving away from us versus the game master, and they're
Ah,
doing more co-op, right?
right.
So it's
Okay, got you.
because even with because that terminology of master can be a little, you
Oh,
can move towards
Yeah.
kink, or you can also move towards shadow slavery. So either way, that's not really a appropriate term to be used
I know you
is
should use
for some
something
of
like
these
grand
games or for
leader or
everyone.
something.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So yeah, shout out to you, Billy, for that. Thank you for that comment.
Um,
And for
Go ahead, Mo.
Oh no, I was just gonna bring back the about the mentality of the hypermasculinity due to slavery. And I think now that women are more empowered, I think that's another reason why there's such pushback, especially with this younger generation of women, because with Black women, I said it last week, they're the fastest growing sector for entrepreneurship as well as education. It's that's
That damsel in distress thing is out the window. Yeah.
I
Right.
won't say
Again,
it's out the window, but
it's
I will say that you got to come with a little bit more than what's your name, what's your size.
I wouldn't say it's out the window, but I would say it's one foot out the door and the other foot is on a banana peel sliding down a hill
You
of
know
ice.
it.
Because I mean, so
Okay.
my friend, we've been friends 16 years, and she know I love her dearly. However, it's out the window with her.
Mm,
If her and her man in the car and she get a flat tire, she gonna push him out the way, jack the car up, change tire, put him back in the car, and be driving down the street.
I'm telling you, she's gonna beat you when she starts listening to the show and about all the times that you talk about her. Especially I
She
talk about
texts
how
me.
masculine she is.
She texts me after the show all the time and say, "So you think this?" And I'm like, "Well, we've had this conversation, love. I love you dearly, but however, we had this conversation." She's like, "Well, at least you said it to my face." So
I
you know,
mess.
I'm allowed to say it, but I think we have to get to the situation where you said previously, it has to be the village that raises the child, and we have to create a safe haven where a child at DJ's house can go to Mo's house and know that I'm still in a safe space to say, you know, this is what I like. I had a young child. I don't want to say names because I didn't get permission. Anytime I tell somebody else's story, I like to get permission from them. But they felt they were in a safe space to tell their mother that I'm bisexual. I think that's what we need to create everywhere so that people can come to you and say, I have this thing where I have people come to me. I don't know why I create this space, but they come and tell me, hey, I was given this STD. Can you help me get help? And I am not one, I don't work in that community. I know people who do, so I'm connected, but I've created a safe space where people come to me, or they'll come to me and say, hey, I have 4 kids. 3 of my kids are by my husband's brother, but he think they're his kids. We need to create a safe space for men to say, it's okay to cry. If you ever need to cry, call me and cry. And I don't have to know why you're crying, but I'm here to let you know it's okay to cry. It's okay to hurt. It's okay to scream. It's okay to get pissed off. It's okay to be happy. It's okay to freaking enjoy life. You work 40 hours a week. It's okay to say, I'm going to take, you know what? I'm going to take $300 and I'm going to go get me a massage. It's okay to say, I'm going to take $2,500 and buy me some Christian Louboutins because I'm going through a midlife crisis. It's okay.
Wait. Let's pay these bills first.
Of course.
Hello, somebody. I was just about to say. I was like, what's use
Because
wisdom?
now we're gonna go into a whole other
Regardless-
topic about how we
Right.
come home and the whole household is broke up because your ass didn't pay the bills first. You got this $300 massage,
What-
and then my masculinity really comes out. Then and I become an asshole. And so, pardon me, but I really, let's think about that.
Hello. I was like, wait.
I mean,
Good
you know,
reason. Let's use wisdom first.
well, shout out to
Self-care
Billy,
is important.
But that's part of our problem, though.
so
Is that-
Billy left us a comment and he said therapists would be much less overwhelmed by clients if we would be there for each other. I
Without
think
judgment.
I think that's a great point, but I also don't agree with that 100%. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because I think we do need to do better in creating safe spaces for people to be their authentic selves and to have this space where they don't feel judged or being transparent. However, right, that also does lead into another set of conversations about us, right? And then we have to turn the mirror on ourselves. And that causes another level of discomfort. And that has nothing to do with your level of or your connection of masculinity or femininity. That just has everything to do with self. And so when we start to do those things, it causes us to have this, encompass about ourselves or our feelings or our emotionality. And a lot of people aren't ready to deal with the outcome behind that. But I mean, I do agree with your comment that, safe spaces are absolutely needed. And now more so than ever, with everything that's going on in the world, that we keep going through this up and down, back and forth pattern behind with all of these variants, it's definitely a much needed concept.
So what I will agree with Billy on is I think we should create safe spaces where I can go to Damien and Mr. Parks Weekly and be like, you know what? Today at work, this girl came at me sideways and I felt this way. And my brother say, you know what? I see how that made you feel, but let's correct it this way. I think those safe spaces are needed. But then you also need your therapist to help you get past over some serious, deep-rooted hurt and emotional luggage that you're carrying that I may not be able to drop off on DJ because he can't handle it. So I think it needs to be a safe balance, like DJ said, of both. And they're not only just amongst the male community, but with the females as well. And they don't think that the man is, for lack of better terms, a punk or weak.
I'll add this. I think, because I think what Billy was trying to say is that I think that if we were there for each other, then those frivolous conversations about what happened with your day and venting and stuff like that can be alleviated. So that way, by the time you get to your therapist, you can dig deep into those deep issues that you're trying to get resolved.
Yeah, no, and I wholeheartedly agree with that. I'm just saying, for some individuals, even me trying to. So I talk about me. I like I statements, right? So for me, right, and y'all know I talked about this. I'm sensitive about my teeth. That's why I got braces at 36. I'm very sensitive about my teeth. So if somebody is coming to me and they want to have a conversation about something that is related to oral health or oral hygiene, that's a trigger for me. And not that I don't want to support you, but because I'm already self-conscious about my own situation with that, that triggers things in me. So, I have to be aware of myself to be like, okay, and aware of myself and my limitations, because that's also a point of me supporting you, is to be like, no, I can't deal with that, right? Because that's a healthy boundary.
Right.
But also knowing, okay, if you're going down this lane, I'm like, okay, I can only give you this much because that's sensitive. Or being transparent enough to lead in with that and say, I'm sorry that happened to you. I experienced that, but I'm very sensitive about that, and that could be a trigger for me. So I can only do what I can do to support you the best way I can.
No, I wholeheartedly agree. I think we're saying the same thing, but just in different ways. I was saying that it's important. Therapy is absolutely important, and I think that if we were able to lean on each other just a smidge, just for the surface stuff, it
Hmm.
makes it easier when you actually have the time to spend with your therapist. Because most cases you only get like 50 minutes. So instead of trying to dig into the superficial stuff, you can just go ahead and just dig in.
Well, DJ, I think you have a beautiful smile. And if you ever need validation of your smile, feel free to shoot me a text message and I'll tell you, you have a beautiful smile.
Well, thank you, but the $6,000 I have paid will ensure of that.
Mm,
Well, feel free to
that's
go
my
ahead and
angel.
cancel
Thank
that
you.
6,000.
Thank
You
you.
can donate that to my fund, and my fund is not 6,000. I'll give you a discount. It'll only be $5,999.99.
You, uh,
I'm just
I
saying.
can't. I
So
can't.
Bless
now
I
the
just
Lord.
can't.
Bless him.
I want
Bless
to
him.
piggyback off of
Mm.
something, and Billy Berserker actually responded. He said, "Absolutely, Mo. There will always be a need for therapists. My local therapy community got completely overwhelmed when the factory laid off the majority male workforce.
Mm.
Self care is not cheap."
Who you telling?
But also,
Oh,
that's an
but I
interesting
can bargain
dynamic.
budget, baby.
But that's an interesting dynamic in his comment, which it contradicts exactly the premise of what we have been historically told about
Hmm.
men in therapy, which
Right.
is a great thing. That's good news
Mm-hmm.
to hear, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So, Arteria, you had something else, or you
Yeah.
just
So I want to go back a little bit. So you made a statement, Robert. I give you permission for that because I know what you were talking about. And the only reason why I give you permission for that, because I know later on down the line there's going to be another parent that's watching this, and or child or whomever, and don't have the strength to tell their parent exactly what they're going through. So Robert made the statement of a child went to their parent and told their parent that they were bisexual. That was my daughter.
Mhm.
So I pat myself on the back because
yeah.
not every child can do that. So for my child to be comfortable enough to come to me as her mother and tell me that, it lets me know that I'm doing the right thing, that I'm not doing anything wrong, and I'm raising her in the right direction. So I give you permission for that.
And that's what I think we need,
Amen.
because if I have a son, I want my son to come to me and say, Dad, I like men. And I'm gonna say, son, let's have a talk, not about your sexuality. I want to prepare you for the ridicule you're gonna face from the ignorant people out there. That's my job. I'm not here to beat my son, because I was around someone who was same gender loving. She was the same gender loving female, and her son said I like men, and she went off on him like he had the black plague. How dare? Who said that? How do you know that? You don't know that. You're just, baby, you're gay. But I couldn't say that because this is your child, and I have to be respectful of how you raise your children. But I want my child to come to me and say, Dad, I like men. I'm like, okay, cool. Why you like men? What do you like about a man?
And
But
my
how do you?
Okay.
Well, now wait. Can you answer that first question yourself though?
Why do I like men? I can now, because when I went up for my defense for my dissertation, the Psych D person asked me that question, and for about 3 minutes, I didn't know who I was or what I liked for a minute. But yes, I can answer that now, because I like the companionship that I get from a man that a woman cannot give me. I love that the man understands me better, then a woman can understand me, because I've dated men and I've dated women. I do identify myself as a bisexual man. I was recently with the female toward the end of last year. I was dating. She was batshit crazy, but
God, I hope she is not watching.
I don't care if she is. Her and her mama both were batshit crazy. Do you hear me? If you see them, run like
my
Forrest
God.
Gump. Run.
We're gonna get canceled.
No, this is the stuff that'll keep you on the air.
but I find that
you're right. This might go viral.
It's something about the essence of a man that I thoroughly enjoy. It's something about the being that is the man figure that I thoroughly enjoy, and it's not a sexual attraction. It's let me tell you, it's an intimate attraction, and intimacy does not mean sexual. I thoroughly love waking up and I have a male in my embrace, and the conversations I can have, or like for me, I have certain times of the month. It's not a period or a cycle, but at certain times of the month, men just don't want to be bothered. Me, I don't want to be bothered. But you understand me, all right?
But you were able to answer that question as a 30-something-year-old male. Young people aren't necessarily equipped. Aren't you like 30-something? 20-something?
No, sir.
How
Yes.
old are you?
20-something.
When you're pushing 30. Okay.
He pushing 40.
Right. That part.
You weren't supposed to tell the whole TRT.
No.
I'm 2 years
No.
older than him.
No.
That basically means that I'm at 40. Just outing everybody on this show.
Yep.
But the average young person does not know how to answer that question. So I will say this too, and whether it be Arteria or anyone else that is dealing with an alphabet child, because I'm getting tired of saying all the letters. But
Amen.
anyone that deals with an alphabet child, I do say too, I encourage anybody to say this, like, don't feel like as a non-alphabet person that you have to have all the answers. It's a great thing that there are those of us out here who are willing to be mentors to answer some questions that you may not be able to answer. We do exist out here. I tell people, I have friends of mine whose sons are gay, and they tried and they couldn't answer all the questions, or they couldn't give them all the necessary tools. And that's why God made gay uncles, because we really do exist. That's why we have lesbian aunties and uncles and everything else in order to help out with it, because there are some things that you'll never experience that we have that we can actually share with them. So it's great to have a friend that's around your age that can answer the things that you can't answer, that can talk to them about, I'm not just saying it to Arteria, but to anybody that has a child that's dealing with that, create a safe space, connect with safe people. I mean, church, I mean, work, I mean, your social circle. I have people in my family that I don't find as a safe space. Guess what? I don't be around them, and I still love them. I still love them, but they're not a safe space, so I know they're not going to be a safe space for my child. So,
Well,
and on that note, we got to start wrapping it up, because
I got 2 more minutes, DJ. We got 2 more minutes.
I had another comment. Robert, when you mentioned about your best friend, like, will get out and change her tire and say, that's me. But it's not, and I'm only speaking from a woman's standpoint, because she may think the same way I'm thinking. It's not that I'm trying to overpower or be more masculine. It's my mindset is I'm more independent.
But as a man, like, we are taught that our woman should depend on us. I'm not saying you have to. Hear me clear. I love that you're independent. I do. But at the same time, let me feel like you need me. Let me feel it. Even though you don't, let me feel it, because that's what I was conditioned for. But it's not right.
Compromise.
Right, I tell you right. We're gonna compromise. You're gonna pull over and you're gonna stop the car. I'll jack the car, change the tire, and you can let the car back down and drive the car. There we go, compromise.
But I mean, frankly, I do think it's a lack of trust, because when in order to achieve submission, you have to trust your partner in order to submit.
Yep.
Billy said my wife needs me to do dishes and take out the trash. You know what, Billy? Tell your wife that's right. She can do the dishes and take out trash. And don't get put in a doghouse. But
my husband does the dishes. If I cook, he's right behind me doing the dishes.
And that's what if I cook, you do the dishes. You cook, I do the dishes. I love doing laundry, so I'm gonna do the laundry by myself. Don't worry about the laundry. I love doing laundry.
It may take me a month to fold them and put them up. But he's
don't. I will wash, dry, fold, put up, and hang up all in the same. That's me. But all right, it's 8:45. DJ, our Department of Systems and Processes says we must begin our final thoughts, guys.
No, not the Department of Systems and Processes, the Department of Production.
Hello, somebody.
I
Tell
know.
the truth. It's James the Devil now.
All right, so let's get with our final thoughts. Mr. Parks Weekly, Damien, I keep calling you Mr. Parks Weekly like you were like 90 years old, like you're my professor in school. Doctor, can you give us some final thoughts?
Work, and to change the societal norm. And again, safe spaces. I don't think that a lot of us are going to be able to change what toxic masculinity represents and looks like in a lot of individuals. So we work hard to create the space that we, as an alternative space, to not be exposed to toxic masculinity. So create those safe spaces.
Thank you, sir. Arteria, Mo, DJ.
My final thought is for those in relationships: communicate with each other, and trust each other. If anything else, communication is key.
Yeah.
DJ Mo.
Okay. All right. No, go ahead, because I gotta break it down after you put it together. Come on. Let's tag team it. I got you.
So my thought is just like I said, and we're going to talk about this a little bit more next week, but gender, sexuality, identity, masculinity, femininity, they are not polar opposites. They are not end stops on the spectrum. There are gray areas. There are fluid areas to these concepts, And if you should find yourself in a situation in which you feel that you embody one or the other more or less, that's okay. Be your authentic version of you. Be your authentic self. It does become dangerous when we take on these stereotypical constructs and these roles and responsibilities that have been enforced and conditioned upon us that are not those of our own. So with that being said, make sure that as we're going through these things, that we're making efforts and we're making strides, that at the end of the day, you analyze the things that are best for you, you move in the ways that are best for you, but ultimately do so in a way that's not damaging to those around you.
Mo.
All right. So my final thoughts about the whole topic of toxic masculinity. There is a TikToker by the name of Dion Reloaded. I think that's his screen name, and he's made the comment that stated that Black women and Black men have the same amount of homophobia on each side of the spectrum. The only difference is Black women are willing to be Black women are willing to hold other Black women accountable and call them out on that. So when we talk about the subject of toxic masculinity, I implore our men and our masculine identifying a non-binary, all on the spectrum, if they're seeing things and if they're hearing things that could be considered toxic, call it out. Because that's how you actually change the society. Is it just like with the situation that's happening with the baby? Baby made those comments, homophobic comments and misogynistic comments. Now he has consequences due to the fact that he doesn't, that's not okay. R. Kelly, Black women brought R. Kelly down. They started a movement of hashtag about no more with R. Kelly, and it basically got to the point of they had the documentary. He got Fed charges where it could be RICO charges. We have to start holding not only our stars accountable, but each other within the neighborhood. And what I love about this generation of babies that are coming up, my little nibblings, y'all are holding us accountable. Y'all are holding each other accountable, and I love it. So keep up the good work. I love y'all. Also, make sure, no amount too small, no amount too big. Check out my Cash App. Just in case you can't see it because you're listening to it on one of the podcast sites like Anchor. Shout out to Anchor. My Cash App is $sign MOESMITH P as in Paul RO. And let the church say amen.
I can't.
Yes, you can.
My final thoughts, because I had to come up with some new thoughts because DJ took the spectrum of masculinity and femininity from me. So shout out to the Department of Systems and Processes for thinking. We greatly appreciate you. I will send my invoice for my thoughts. But
Fear mine.
I will give you this, and my final thought will be to uncheck the box. Uncheck the box that they put you in. Uncheck the box that they called you to. Uncheck the box that they said you're supposed to be in, and be yourself. Be who you are. Walk in your truth, walk in your purpose, and walk in your destiny. And know this: if nobody else tells you, you are amazing. You are wonderful. You are dynamic. You are skilled. You are educated. You are beautiful. And I want you to know that if nobody else loves you, know that I love you. And I'm always here. I'm only an email away. Shoot me an email, at the no clue, the show at gmail.com. It's no clue, the show at gmail.com. Shoot me an email and just say you need inspiration. I do a daily inspirational on my Facebook. You can follow me on Facebook or Instagram. It's DRRLCII on all platforms. Follow me. I post a daily inspirational every day. And it's not an inspirational just to say, do something inspirational. It's a daily inspirational for you to apply to your life. I just want you to know that you're loved, you're important, and you're somebody. So be somebody, because somebody else is looking up to you. You're somebody's role model. All right. We thank you guys for joining us for another episode of No Clue, the show. Thank you, Damien, for joining us, sir. It's always a pleasure. You will be on another show. Just let you know. It's already we received comments. Someone texted me and was like, "Hey, where does he live?" And I was like, "Not in the Eastern time zone." So you will be on another show, sir. That's coming up. I know he's married. He's happily married. He's the first gentleman, and his husband will pray heaven down. So you better watch it. Thank you guys for joining us. We love your feedback. Send feedback to nocluetheshow@gmail.com. Why can't I get our email right tonight?
We're gonna get you some laminated production notes.
Right. Don't tell our production manager that. We will get notes sent out to us. Watch it. Print these out, laminate them, and have them in your presence. But send us comments. Send us comments. Send us feedback. Send us show ideas. No Clue, the show, NOCLUETHESHOW@gmail.com. We will respond to all emails. If it's some crazy stuff, y'all, I'm not responsible for how you get a response back. So let's be sensible about what we're saying. God bless you.
And be sure to join us next week. Your boy is facilitating. You don't want to miss this topic. Everybody else had their turn. I got to put mine in there too.
Come on, plug.
Wait. Ricky put in, you got the
I see it.
I love it. Shout out to
production man. That was
Ricky
in our
Z social
private
media.
conversation, y'all.
Yes.
You're not supposed to say that publicly. It's in a private.
But yeah, shout out to Ricky Z social media.
I love Ricky.
Yeah.
I love Ricky. Ricky is the best person in the whole world. Ricky Z Media is where you need to be. She will get you together on air and off air.
Get you all the way together tonight.
Right. But thank you guys for tuning in. We wish you guys much. We will see you guys next Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 6:30 Central, right here. Same channel, same platform. Well, next week's show, we're going to be talking about somebody.
You have no clue.
You know what? Y'all been on me all night. I'm going to go eat me a bucket of ice cream. I'm not talking y'all no more. All right. Next week's is gender
It's tomorrow's
roles.
birthday.
You said what happened?
That's right. Next week is Mo.
I said,
yes.
It's going to be gender roles. It's going to be fun, and we might have to put Dr. Robert in the timeout, but that's all right. Get into it.
I'm always in timeout. I mean, the platform put me in timeout tonight. I mean, come on. But guys, we have fun on this show. We're not stingent. You know what? Just good night.
Rigid.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye, y'all.
I can't think. Y'all have a great night. We'll see you guys next week.